Hello. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Hi there. Welcome to Go to 10. My name is Aaron, and I'm one of the event hosts here. I work with the events we have at Go to 10. So I'm here to just talk a little bit about it. So Go to 10 is run by these guys, Internet Stiftelsen, the Internet Foundation of Sweden. And a little bit about what they do. They do a lot of work of promoting digitalization, and they are main proceeds come from domain sites, so that's .se and .nu, and they take these proceeds and put it into projects or places like this, as in co-working space and event space. So we are here, open from 8 till 4:30 on Monday to Friday. And so if you'd like to become a member, you can use this place for free. And if you'd like to work with us and do some events, you can talk to me, our community manager, Oli. She will help you with that. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you on to our organizer today, Peter, who's going to be giving you his presentation. So I'm just going to put your microphone on and welcome you. So give me a second. And you're good to go.
Perfect. Welcome. Hey, welcome to my presentation about burnout. I'm happy that so many of you are here and want to know how to get right. I will begin with some words about me. I'm Peter, I'm 43 years old, I'm married and I have 2 kids, and my professional background is programmer and software developer, where I worked for 20 years. But now I'm a personal trainer and coach, and my focus and my mission is to use physical training to enable a sustainable work life. So not just building muscles or building endurance, but really have a sustainable work life. And this is where this presentation comes in. So why to talk about burnout and how did I get interested in it? I was a quite ambitious middle distance runner in my teenage years, and I had several periods of overtraining and a stomach ulcer with 15 years, which was a bit unusual. And at this time I began to educate myself, and I stumbled over this great book here, Better Training for Distance Runners. And they mentioned in their chapter about overtraining that there is a stage after overtraining if you stay in there for a very long time. And they called it staleness in the English version, but in the German version it was already called burnout. And what they talked about, what they said about burnout really surprised me, because they said if you are there, it takes months, years, or maybe your whole life to come back again. So they wrote it could spell the end of a career. And that really shocked me. It was really counterintuitive for me that I could, through training, get to a stage where I will never get back to the performance that I had before training. And over the years I realized that burnout in sports and mental burnout, so the burnout you get in work, is essentially the same thing with the same symptoms and the same things that happens in the body. It's both wear out symptoms, so some buffers that get depleted, something that gets broken and doesn't work anymore, and an adaptation. So some of the psychological changes are an adaptation so that you do not spend even more energy. Yeah, why do I want to tell you how you get into burnout instead of telling you the opposite? Well, I read these books, The Pursuit of Unhappiness, and this is a German book. It's called The Guide to a Heart Attack. And I really love these books because they were funny to read, entertaining, and I learned a lot, although I didn't notice that I was learning. So I thought, okay, this is a great way to learn something without studying something. And so I thought, okay, this would be a great way to talk about burnout too. But I'm a bit shy, so this mean way of telling things, so I don't want you to get into burnout, of course. And I'm a bit shy as well, so I decided that I will let my alter ego do this presentation. So welcome, Retep. So, I heard you want to get into burnout. I'll tell you. You'll get there. I'll tell you about a lot of things today. First, I begin with the road to burnout. How does it work, getting from really healthy to getting really fried? One step there is to avoid recovery. I will tell you how to use training, physical training, to accelerate your way there, how to stay there if you have already managed to get into burnout, and as a bonus, how to use social media, NDI, and flow states, how to get there. Let's start. Burnout. What is this? In order to understand burnout, we have to understand the human body. So I have tried to draw a simple diagram how the body works. So you have all kinds of things. You have springs, you have buffers, you have depots and buffers that can get depleted. You have things that bounce around. You have things that want to be balanced. You have things that work very slowly but for a long time. You have pumps that get pumped from the outside, and nearly everybody of us has a cat somewhere, something that behaves completely erratic but can have really weird effects if it behaves. So the human body is very complicated. So I want to give you a little more simplified model. And this is the model of supercompensation. So if you train, maybe if you do strength training, for example, maybe you have heard about this. It means you are on a certain level, then there comes a stressor. It may be a workout, it may be a task, demanding task at work, something that stresses you, it causes you to spend energy. So as long as the stressor is here, you spend energy. But the problem is, as soon as the stressor is away, you begin to recover. And the tricky thing with your body is, it does not only recover to the point where it was before, it recovers more. It supercompensates and it adapts for the stressor it had. So it gets stronger and can do the same task easier in the future. And this is bad news if you want to get into burnout, of course, because it means as soon as we stress, the system gets stronger. If you look at it in terms of how much reserves we have, we can have another model here with a bathtub. So we have an outlet. This is how much energy we spend. We have an inlet. This is how much energy comes in. And we have the amount of energy that's in the bathtub. And that's the tricky thing here is we do not know how much this is, or it's very hard to know how much there is. So how far from rock bottom are we? As long as there's water coming out of the outlet, it seems all the same. But yeah, this is where we want to go. We want to go to the bottom line. So the question is, how the hell can we break a system like this? A system that reacts to every stress and every challenge by getting stronger. This behavior is, by the way, called anti-fragile. So it's the exact opposite of fragile. If you cannot, it is not easy to break, and it gets even stronger. And the short answer, how do we break this, is we have to avoid this adaptation and recovery. We have to avoid getting back up again, and we have, in any case, to avoid getting even further than we have been before. But we have to allow this stress, a little bit of stress to happen. So we have to allow that, what was that? So that the curve goes down, but we have to prevent it going up. So it's difficult to break a system like this, but trust me, it is possible. Every system is breakable. So I told you how to get there. Now we will talk about how do we avoid recovery. I have three suggestions for this: optimization, flattening the line, and interrupting. I will talk about each of them. So first, optimization and maximization. The thing is, this anti-fragility, this adaptation, this getting stronger has an overhead. So we have to have a bit of a surplus of energy, a bit of a safe space, something that creates the space to get stronger again. Some safe space where we can lick our wounds in order to get better again. And if we squeeze out all that's possible, and optimize away all the cream from the top, we can prevent that this happens, that we get stronger. We just work optimized, but we work on the same level. So a fully optimized system is rarely anti-fragile, and the anti-fragile system is rarely fully optimized. With system here, I mean your whole life puzzle. So not only at work, but at home with your kids, with your hobbies. So if you put everything back to back really nicely, the whole puzzle very seamless, you are on a good way to optimize away this getting stronger. The next strategy I want to suggest is flattening the line. Because the line, if we have stressors and we allow the recovery, the line goes up again. We have another stressor, it gets up again. And the further we get up, the bigger the stressors can be, and we get stronger and stronger and further away from our goal here. So we have to avoid, so one thing is to avoid this activation. Avoid that we go down and bounce up again. If we avoid the activation, we won't bounce up again as much. I mean, avoid all stressors, passion, affection, engagement, everything that activates you. And it may sound weird that stressors and passion is in the same line here. But for the body, it's spending of energy. Even if it is a short amount of stress that causes the spending of energy, if it recovers after it, it gets stronger. So if you avoid these short, intense stressors, you avoid the bouncing back. And by avoiding all this passion and short stressors, you avoid already a bit of satisfaction. And this helps avoid deep rest, because if you're not satisfied, it's not so easy to recover, because you think, okay, I didn't do something, I'm useless, or something like this. And if you just do that, you just stay on the same line. But if you add some constant light stress, then you get this nice downward looking line that hits the ground somewhere in the future. You have to just be patient. And one way to do this, to add this constant stress, is to cultivate anxiety. You have something that you have procrastinated on, like a taxi record you have to do, or unpleasant conversation with your significant other that you have been putting off since several months. So having some bad conscience and feeling of guilt, some nagging feeling, this helps to have this constant light stress, and this bends the line down. But this strategy has one disadvantage, and this disadvantage is this word here, passion. If you're passionate about something, you won't be able to just stay flat. You will at some point begin to spend energy on something you're passionate about. So, and if you do this, you begin to become satisfied, and you begin to oscillate and bounce again. This oscillating and bouncing is what makes our body stronger, and this is what we want to avoid. So if you happen to have passion for something, I have another strategy for you, and they call it to interrupt supercompensation. It's not as complicated as it sounds. So what does it do? We let the passion and the spending of energy happen, and we let even a bit of recovery happen. But then we interrupt the recovery. We don't let happen that we get stronger. We just interrupt it and start another something else. So it works really well with multitasking. So you start another task before you recover. So important here, do not waste time with celebrating your success. Just go to the next task. A sentence that helps here is, there is no time to master anything, just finish it and go to the next. It's even better if you do not master anything. The next time you get there, you're more nervous. You know, okay, I just did it the last time, and now I have to just do it again. And it's not this feeling, so I can do this. So really careful. And there are also lots of mental tricks that prevent satisfaction, because satisfaction seems to be an important thing, so I will talk about this more. So what is satisfaction? It builds the ramp from activation to recovery. So you go down, and then you have completed something, and then you are satisfied. And this helps from spending energy, going into the other mode, and recovering. And the more satisfied you are, the more steep you go into recovery. So this curve here, is influenced by satisfaction. But not only that, satisfaction increases the reactivation. If you have felt satisfaction at the end of a task, you are more likely to get into this task again if you are here. And going down and jumping in and feeling even more satisfied. So it creates havoc on our on our goal on both ends. It both moves us upwards and it moves us downwards. So it increases the oscillation and it increases the bouncing. So satisfaction is really a dangerous thing if you want to get into burnout. So how to avoid it? I have a multi-tool for you. This is the sentence, as much as possible. I love this sentence because it's so simple and so powerful. So if you have this in mind, did I do as much as possible? Do I do as much as possible? The answer will always be no. Because if you imagine you running a marathon, and after 5 kilometers you're asking yourself, am I running as fast as possible? The answer will of course be no, because if you run as fast as possible at 5 kilometers, you won't be able to run a marathon. It's the same at work. If you work and you're feeling really effective, but then something urgent comes in or somebody needs your help, you will be able to pull out more. But you never know what the price is. So it's always possible to trade long-term energy against short-term performance. Well, trade long-term performance against short-term performance. That's why I love this sentence so much. And it has two implications. If you always ask yourself, do I do enough? Did I do enough? Did I do as much as possible? Recovery becomes less deep. Because if you want to recover and you're unsure and have this nagging doubt, maybe I could have done more, you won't fully relax. And it has another implication. If you're here and you're thinking, did I do as much as possible? Yeah, maybe. Could I do more? Yes, now I can do more because I've recovered a bit. Jump in again. Could I do more? Yes, I could do more. I could do more. I could do more, and so on. And you have this nice, a bit bumpy, but downward-looking curve again that leads you where you want to go. So it's important to ask this question frequently, especially in the evening when you want to go to bed. So let there be some regret before you want to relax. So we have talked about how to avoid recovery, and now I want to talk about how you can use physical training for your road to burnout. So first you have to fool all these sneaky advisors that say to you, if you just go jogging every day, you can take on much more work. Do yoga every day for relaxation. Reset your nervous system with ice bath, breath work, mindfulness, whatever. How is this with training? Does it really destroy all your work for burnout? Yes and no, I would say. It can, of course, introduce satisfaction. It can cause activation. It can slam all your frustration, rebalance things you don't want to rebalance, accelerate and deepen this anti-fragility and increase the oscillation. And it can even make the buffers bigger we want to deplete. But if you use it right, it can look very sensible to the outside, but at the same time multiplicate all the stress you have, add a layer of stress on everything. It can give you constant anxiety, constant self-doubts, constant dissatisfaction, and provide all the physical part of burnout because it can really drain out your body if you do it right. But when doing right, it's really important in training to avoid satisfaction. So how to succeed with training for burnout? I like to present you the barbell model. You know, a barbell has lots of weights on the sides and not much in between. And this is how you should look at your training. Either you do not train at all, sit at home, use the elevator and use the car, or you train a lot with a lot of stress and very frequently. So why does this work? Why does it work this way? If you think at how your system, your body works, there are lots of buffers, there's elasticity, and as we already know, the body gets stronger by oscillating. So if we touch the system and it begins to swing, it gets stronger of this. There are things that get bigger and bigger if we do this. So in order to break this system, we either don't touch it, we don't use it, so that it gets weaker by itself, or we use it so hard that at least some of these strings get overstretched, or some of these buffers get depleted, so that something happens that is permanent, or at least long-lasting. How do we do this? So before training, you won't have stress as the motivation for training. That's very important. Not joy or something something you look forward to, but stress. So fear of something like a heart attack in 10 years or diabetes or what else. Time cap challenges. Do this now for 6 weeks and you must do this every day, otherwise you get insulted. Jealousy. So this guy beside you has bigger muscles, or on the other side who has a smaller belly or what else. And of course you have to be dissatisfied with yourself in order to succeed with training here. Keep this sentence in mind. I don't want to, but I have to. During training, always have in mind to have stress in the training. Do it with stress as the driving force. So a screaming coach who screams at you and insults you and tells you how bad you are, dissatisfaction with yourself and your performance, and competition. Really important here. Everybody in the room is your enemy. Everybody in the room when you train will look at you if you are better, if you really are the best. And if you fail once, they will see this and remember this. So be careful here. Second place is the first loser. So make sure you are not second place. Avoid any kind of comradeship. So cheering up each other, or partner workouts, or join movement. That's for kids, not for grown-ups. So here it's stress and hard work that counts. And after training, again, optimize. Plan in as tight as possible. Just take a quick shower and back to work, or quick shower or home. Do not waste time with chatting or relaxing or going to sauna or something like this. And make sure you are discontent. Sentence like this: so this was too easy. It's a waste of time. If it was easy, if you feel good after the training, it's a waste of time. Or I'm not good enough. I will never get there because I'm so far behind my plan. If you are behind your plan, it's useless. So keep in mind, who is satisfied with himself has stopped being good. If it felt good, you did not push hard enough. And it was a waste of time, of course. How is this with other health-related activities? Fasting, cold water bathing, breathwork, mindfulness. If you really want to do this, do it all or nothing. It's best to begin them all at once, and with an app or with some accountability partner who insults you if you if you break your streak or something like this. And important here, do not stop them or reduce them as your own decision. So keep them going until you're forced to stop by your child that is sick, or some job journey or something else. This helps. It sounds like it's continuity, and that's a thing that all the people who train say it's good, but it helps with a feeling of helplessness. I could not hold my streak because always something happens, so I'm useless with this. So this is an important thing. Breed this feeling of helplessness with all these activities. Yeah, congratulations. If you followed until here, you know very well how to get into burnout. But remember, we humans are anti-fragile. No, we have to make sure that we stay there. So if we want to stay there, yeah, I have some tips for you. So when in burnout, these are the symptoms. You are stuck in a chronic stress phase. Your brain is in fight or flight mode, so it optimizes away everything that is not survival. For example, your immune system. So you get sick quite often and ill. You have maybe systemic inflammation and chronic pain, which adds stress. And your sleep is disrupted, which amplifies everything else. Well, it looks like you are on the winning lane, but don't feel too safe, because it's possible to lose the game even if you came here. Because some other symptoms, if you look at them, they look like the winning lane too, but if you look at them, your energy is down. Maybe you don't even come out of bed. Your memory becomes very bad. You have worse focus, and you are apathetic and maybe disconnected to your job. But the thing is, it's like if it's like this, you do not spend any energy. You are not able to spend any energy. So training hard when in burnout is quite impossible, so physically impossible. So we are somewhere here, you're lying in bed, and then maybe you relax, so you recover a bit, and then you go for a walk, and you're exhausted, and go for another walk, and maybe another, and do something, do some small task, and suddenly you feel useful again, and suddenly you come to this, without noticing, come again in this oscillation. It may take time, you may not notice it, but you come back here. And this is the dangerous thing here, but it's easy to break. That's an easy thing. If you spend energy, do it properly. If you spend energy, do it as hard so that you hit rock bottom again. It's quite easy. Do not let others steal your responsibilities. That's quite dangerous with family and friends. They want to take away things from you. They want to bring you something to eat, or that you eat good, and want to take away all the responsibilities. Don't let this happen. You are useless if you don't have your responsibilities. That's just what identifies you. So keep them. Don't let others take away things. So keep in mind, all or nothing, no excuses. Just because you hit rock bottom doesn't mean you can do all the things before and in the same way you did before. So now we know how to stay in burnout. I'll give you some extra tips about social media and AI, and a short thing about flow states. Yeah, we live in a great time for this. Nowadays, we have the possibility to use AI to accelerate our way to burnout, if you use it right. So when you do some task, for example, if you are coding or if you are writing an article, ask yourself these questions. Could I automate this? Could anybody else do this better than me with AI? Is it worth putting effort in this? Maybe it is not. So these questions were from both activation and satisfaction, because if you're sitting on something and you have this nagging doubt, is it necessary that I do this? Your activation will go down. And if you have done this, sat there for 2 hours and did something, and then the question is, maybe somebody else could have done this in 2 minutes with ChatGPT, maybe your satisfaction will not be that great. So very important to keep this in mind and to work with these tools here in this way in order to flatten the line here or keep it any longer down. Another tool which works in a different way is social media. Here again we have the feeling of constant stress, so we're missing something all the time. You can't scroll to the end of Facebook anymore. So it's a great tool for this. And it's great to compare yourself. You see, you can find all the people who are better than you and at anything you want. And it's great to compare yourself. So, okay, I'm worse at this than this person, I'm worse than this at this than this person, and so on and so on. And yeah, you can find this. And it's important to get there and really, in the best case, make a list who is better than you and how why you feel bad about this. And it's a great tool for distraction. So if you start a task and after 5 minutes you go to Facebook and then come back again, first you have a bad conscience because you went to Facebook, and you have to pay the startup cost and the switch cost to the other task again. And then after 5 minutes go back to Facebook and again. So you pay the startup cost several times, and you have spent much more energy than was necessary for a task, and you have a bad conscience, which works again. You have spent a lot of energy and you have disrupted satisfaction again. So great tools, work with social media. It's great for constant stress. The last point I want to talk about are flow states. Who has heard about flow states? It's a state where, for example, if you're coding and you're sitting there and in the beginning it's hard and it doesn't work, and suddenly it's 3 hours later and you have produced a lot of code and it's working. It felt effortless, it felt timeless, and it was even enjoying. And it's the same with writing for some people, it's the same with discussions. It depends on your personality in which situations you get into flow states. But the result is that you have the same output. Yeah, something's broken. You have the same output with much less stress. Stress just happens in the beginning, and then something else happens, but it's not stress that drives you. And the experience is intense and satisfying, which sounds dangerous. Intense and satisfying. So flow states are oscillating by nature. So my advice is avoid them whenever possible. So flow compounds wins and burnout compounds losses. So it's really the opposite of what we want. With one exception, that is the so-called hyperfocus. This is not the same as flow, because it's not the immersion in something and the enjoyment of something, but it's rather an inability to switch focus. You are into something, but you don't have enough energy to switch to something else, even if this what you do costs you energy. Best do this at night with lots of chemical tailwind, means coffee, sugar, what else, whatever you use for staying awake. Keep in as long as possible. Keep in mind, maybe you never get these great ideas again. Maybe you never be so focused again. So really keep there until the birds begin singing, until you really have to fall into bed. With hyperfocus does this, but even with flow, it's important to avoid momentum. So if you get into flow on one day and on the next day and then the next day, it will get easier and easier to get there, and you are on a spiral in the whole wrong direction. Hyperfocus does this for you. If you had hyperfocus a whole night, it will take a week until you get back to normal effective work. But it's important to remember to feel worthless when not in flow, because you will feel very ineffective. Yeah, this was flow states, and this was from everything from me. Thank you, and I'll give back to Peter. Thank you, Red Tap, and thank you for listening. This was really, that was intense, an intense topic and an intense guy. But there are lots of things where I am in line with Red Tap, and these are the things I want you to take away from this presentation. That we can take a lot of stress. We humans are built for taking stress if we have the possibility to recover. We get stronger by oscillation, so the more stress we can take and recover, the stronger we get. That's the whole point of training. So every physical training builds upon this strategy. So really allow yourself to get satisfied, even if your performance was not as expected. Allow yourself to be satisfied for the moment, to recover and do better the next time. This is the only way to get out of this. And by any way, avoid the constant pressure. Avoid something that just presses in one direction without any oscillation. Anything that does not oscillate and just presses will not bring you any further. So by all means, find a way to use stress not as the start motor. So if you have a little bit older car with a gasoline motor, you don't drive with the start motor like this. You start the big engine and then you drive with the big engine. And the start motor is just that gets you going. And it's the same with stress. You start with stress, you need a little bit of stress to get started, usually. Sometimes it's just curiosity, but most of the time it needs a little bit of stress to get started, but then you have to find something else that drives you. And the most important thing, we humans are anti-fragile by nature, so we can recover and we can adapt if we do not prevent it, for us and for those around us. Thank you. So, are there any questions right now? Yeah.
Okay. For the chat.
It's really easy to ignore like the early signs of being burnt out. What do you think is a good strategy to notice symptoms or notice the early stages of burnout?
Mm-hmm. That's one good thing is your sleep. If you realize you're waking up quite easily, or you're not able to sleep in at the evening, it's often a sign. If you have a watch that measures the pulse, the heart frequency, it's always also, if the heart frequency goes up around your average, and it stays there, it's often a sign. So in training, it's often a sign of overtraining, but it's the same symptom with burnout. So you're on the way to something. Maybe it's just you're just getting ill or sick, but an increased resting heart rate is often a warning sign that something is going on.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? No? Have a question in the chat. I'll just have it here. Moments. Yeah, so the question says, I love the evil advice and sarcasm. Makes the presentation relatable and interesting to follow. On a serious note, though, do you have any tips for generally wanting to do less and less perfect?
Yeah, the main tip essentially is the thing with allow yourself to be satisfied, however bad it was. So the notion that you trust yourself that you did what you could, and then be satisfied, relax, recover, and then shoot again. That's essentially the main tip I can give. It doesn't matter if this is in training. If you had a very bad day and you were had a very bad time when you ran, or you didn't lift any weights you could the day before, yeah, it is like it is at this day. Recover. Don't think about too much on this day. If it keeps like this, think about this. But if it's sometimes, it's just okay. Call it a day, check, and recover, and give yourself the chance to come back again.
Okay, so would you say that's all part of the whole process of it, and that's just how it is? You're going to have that.
I think I would say it's the main tip. Of course, there are many things in the back of your head. If you are on the verge of perfectionism, how to get there? So break it down in things that you can iterate upon. That's always also a good strategy. Something to iterate. Something to, okay, I say I begin somewhere and I don't care if it's shit. Then I go further and iterate on this. I take the worst thing first and make it better. Then I take the next worst thing, and so on and so on. That's would be my advice. But I'm fighting with this myself, so maybe I'm not the best person here.
Good, thanks. And any more before we close? Okay. Thank you for today's presentation.
One thing for me,
Yeah?
there's a present for all who watch this. Scan this QR code and you can come to a site where you can book a call with me, and we can talk about how you can improve training or whatever for your sustainability. I'm very curious what people are fighting with. I'm sending you the presentation also, but I don't know if I have all the email addresses. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.